Hey, all my Aries friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today to talk about January 2025, the aspects that are going to happen during the month and how they will affect you directly. These videos are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Aries, I'm talking about Aries rising as dictating the landscape of the chart and being the first house. If you don't know your rising sign, you'll want to go to one of the free birth calculators on the internet, and you just need your exact time and location in order to determine that information. When I mention a day and a time, it's based on the Pacific time zone, so please adjust for your location. The month starts off with an opposition with your ruling planet, Mars, in an opposition to Pluto. This happened back in November when Pluto was still in Capricorn and Mars was in Cancer. Now Mars is retrograding and is at 1 degree of Leo, while Pluto is at 1 degree of Aquarius. So this kind of amps up or ramps up the energy because in Capricorn, we see a bit of restriction. We see a bit of repression. In Aquarius, we see, skyrockets in flight. And we see your ruling planet. It feels very hot to me. Let me pull up the chart and we'll go through some of the aspects. Because we have 3 planets retrograde. We have Mars, we have Jupiter, and we have Uranus retrograde. So here we see Mars is making an opposition to Pluto. This feels rebellious to me. It feels as if Mars is about to retrograde on the 6th back into Cancer. Mars will be in fall when it moves back into Cancer. So Mars is being tasked to really review what is most important. What does Mars want to birth for itself? Mars is making aspects to both the South Node and the North Node as they are about to change signs a little later in the month. This feels favorable to me. And at the same time, Mars to me is the planet that is the underdog in this opposition. Not only is it moving retrograde, it's moving back into its fall and it's feeling hot and it's feeling edgy. Pluto is more than happy to be over here in Aquarius. Pluto likes to look to the future and to destroy whatever psychological imprint is holding you back from living your greatest life. And that's what Mars wants to do, is live bravely. So this is a very powerful aspect. You might want to look back what was going on in November. And this could give you a little idea of how this could play out for you. But essentially, we see here that the chart happens to be on Aries rising. So this is happening in your 5th and 11th house axis. And then Mars is going to move back into Cancer. So things could happen around the home. You could find that you're feeling somewhat rebellious against maybe some old habits or some old imprints that aren't necessarily working as for you the way they used to. On the 3rd, we're going to see Venus move into her exaltation in Pisces. Venus is now at 0 degrees. Venus is going to go all the way through the Pisces this month. And this is where she feels fabulous. And as she's in her exaltation, so she feels welcomed, she feels cherished, she feels very creative when she is in Pisces. And as the month progresses and she moves closer and closer to Saturn, we're going to start to see her wanting to build on her creativity, wanting to create something sustainable. Now, at the time as she enters her exaltation, there is this quincunx to the South Node. So there can be things happening within partnerships. Venus rules partnerships. The South Node is in Libra, where Venus naturally rules. This can be very significant. Oh, we have a yod. Actually, I just noticed that we have a yod. We have the South Node pointing at Venus, and we have Mars pointing at Venus. When 2 quincunxes are within 1-2 degrees of each other, and these points are all connecting, the focus here is on Venus. and asking you what do you believe about your self-worth, about your skills? Are you brave enough, as your ruling planet is about to retrograde into Cancer, to nurture your creativity, to play up what is a natural habit of yours in some ways? I like transit yachts. That, to me, they are a period of time when I focus on in this particular case my creativity from a soul's perception, because we're talking the 12th house. Something very powerful can start to manifest. On the 6th, we see Mars move into its fall. And these days to me are very tense. So the first week of the year feels, because of Mars's energy, feels extremely challenging. Mars is making a square and a half to Saturn. And in that, there is this feeling of not being able to quite connect to what the tension is. I can see part of it, but I can't feel all of it. And I think that has a lot to do with Pluto bringing up some underbelly, something that makes you feel a bit rebellious, and yet you may not know exactly what it is, because it could be something that has been a psychological imprint from your childhood. And I think that is further evidenced by the quincunx to Mercury, as Mercury is sitting on the galactic center. This would be an opportunity to take time to meditate or connect with your guides and your angels for inspiration, because again, the month starts off very tense for me. On the 8th, Mercury will move into Capricorn, and this is where our thoughts become much more sober and much more this is where we're starting to think about building. We're building in our career, Aries. This is your 10th house. We're going to see Mercury start to think about how fears potentially could be holding me back, or how my personal history, the history that I've lived, tends to limit my possibilities for the future. And I think that's where the frustrations of your ruling planet in opposition to Pluto. Pluto's saying, let's move into the future. Let's move into that cosmic consciousness of your 11th house. And Mars is moving back into where it is revisiting the nurturing it had as a child, the maternal experience. We also see that Jupiter is making a square to Saturn and a half square to Mars. So there's something here that I can't see. There's details that I'm missing. When Jupiter's also in detriment in Gemini in your 3rd house. And so when Jupiter is making that half square to Mars, it literally is too much resentment, anger, too much focus on the past in some respects, and not transforming that into a tool to be used. This square between Jupiter and Saturn is going to continue on throughout the month as well. Jupiter is in your 12th house. I'm sorry, Saturn is in your 12th house. And that's bringing up a soul's history, a soul's imprint. I believe that when we incarnate into this physical experience, we bring parts of ourselves with us. It's why you see children who have no education have natural talents and genius at some things. So this is where, for me, when I look at that 12th house and I look at the idea of Saturn transiting through that 12th house for you, Aries, it's asking you to use your soul's history to build upon, to connect with, in order to manifest on the earth plane. The nodes will change signs on the 12th. They'll go into the Pisces Virgo axis. I will make a separate video to address that, but you're going to see the North node move into your 12th house and the South node move into your 6th house. The South node is going to really have you focusing in on your day-to-day stresses, on what you think about that contributes to your health. And if you have old hurts that have not been reconciled and they come up as resentments, the South node is going to task you to connect with your guides, your angels, and seek wisdom, to seek the divinity in your challenges. We will see a full moon in Cancer on the 13th. This happens at 2:26 p.m. I'll put that there real quick. I'm going to do a separate video on the full and the new moon, but I just want to bring it up real quick. Whenever we see a full moon, we're seeing an illumination, the brightest phase of the moon. And here we see that the moon is conjunct Mars and the sun is conjunct Pluto. It's not a huge, it's a wide conjunction, but at the same time, this illumination feels like it is really based in that psychology that Pluto is representing and Mars's attitude towards it. And again, Mars is fiery and passionate and moves quickly, reacts quickly. So this might be an opportunity to see where if I slow down a bit, that could be the square that Jupiter and Saturn are having in the background. I'll see things more clearly. I'll be able to make my steps more succinctly. I think that Mars is making a beautiful aspect to Neptune. And here we see that the North Node is at 29 degrees. We're going to see a stellium growing in the Pisces energy that's going to be taking place as we get into February, March, and April, even into May. So this is a significant time to really pay attention to those subtle yearnings, potential inspirations, and taking time to connect with your guides and your angels. Here we also see that Venus and Saturn are coming together. Again, this is a summit of conversation about building, using my skills, creating money and resources, not just through my physical efforts, but through my divine inspirations and my divine practices. On the 19th, we will see Venus and Saturn exact. Let me go back to 12 p.m. in Pisces. Now, I think that this is so dreamy to me. I think this is where I'm really willing to do the hard work of sitting in my creative body and trusting that as I sit there and I feel this passion for my creativity. The thing about being a Mars ruled person is that you have no patience. You want everything to happen now, now, now. And with the Venus and Saturn conjunction in Pisces, this is a time to slow down and really connect with the depths of your creativity and to allow Saturn's enduring energy to build and reward as you bravely birth yourself on some level into the material world, the material plane. The sun also enters Aquarius later in the day. We see it hits here at 29 degrees of Capricorn. Venus and Mars on the 22nd are going to make a trine to one another. And this is actually pretty lovely. It's a loose trine. It will grow a little bit as we move through the latter half of January. But what we're seeing here is that Mars is going to start making favorable aspects to the growing stellium that is taking place over here. This, to me, is where Mars is actually starting to maybe listen a little bit. Mars is, again, Mars is retrograde. Mars is in water where it's in fall, and it's having to deal with emotions. It's having to deal with the emotions that sit underneath the surface. And here, this is a favorable aspect for using those emotions to foster creativity. Now, we do see an opposition here to Mercury. And I think that could be fear, potentially. That could be where your mind is running through the scenarios of how this could all, get messed up, or how it could trip you up if you're too vulnerable in your emotions. But I think that if we really look at the Pisces energy and the type of creativity that it fosters, it really is a lot about places where we feel alone. You know, heartbreak sometimes comes in there. Love songs, that's what I'm thinking of. Love songs and poetry and things that we do creatively, but are spawned by something challenging. Some of the best love songs are based on breakups, you know, on tremendous hurts. And we also see a liberating energy here with Uranus is retrograde, exact to Mars. Now, both these planets are reviewing. So to me, there's an epiphany being offered. There's something happening where I'm like, oh, that's that aha moment. Mercury will enter Aquarius on the 27th. Let me click off of Mars. And it will join Pluto. And at this time, this really, you know, when I look at this conjunction here, this is really feels as if there's an awareness of what's going on with my own, like I start to become aware of my own psychology. I start to become aware of where power and control has potentially messed with my intentions. Mercury's making a beautiful sextile over here to Neptune and to the North Node, as all of this whole point is really. And I think that this is important because it's not about trying to release it or get rid of it. It's about using it. It's about using it constructively rather than using it destructively. So how you're communicating with yourself, with others, with how you're processing your challenges, Aries, is going to be very it's going to be a shift change for you potentially, where you can literally feel and see in the outside world something feels different. And it doesn't feel, because I don't believe Aries and Mars, it can just let something go. They're not hardwired that way. And if for some reason they do let it go, it's usually repressed in some way. We don't want to do that. So Mercury is going to bring up that as it comes into conjunction with Pluto, the potentials of what has happened in your childhood that has made you feel alien or less than or not important. The challenging energy of Aquarius it can sometimes make us feel like we're not part of the group because it sees the cosmic consciousness versus the individuals. We will have a new moon in Aquarius on the 29th. I will do a separate video on that, but now I'm going to go to the 30th where we see Uranus go direct. Uranus is in the last few degrees of your second house, and it is going to, as the year progresses, move into your third house, tip its toe, and then retrograde back into your second house of Taurus. This is, again, sort of, to me, is an opportunity to be liberated from a history that's held me back, or to start to use that history as a tool for me to creatively birth something into my life that brings more resources, more money, more security. We see now that Venus is within 1 degree in your 12th house of Pisces, and she's going to dip her toe into your first house and then retrograde back into Pisces. So this is going to be a concentrated energy over the next couple of months where you're going to be really looking at, how do I use my voice? Because Venus rules your second house of Taurus, and Taurus rules the voice, how you express yourself. You could even potentially call it, your singing voice, your creativity, because I think that as this takes place, even though we see a bit of a challenge with the South Node opposing these two planets, it's also this point where I think that as I'm egoless to the South Node, the criticism that can come with the South Node in Virgo, the perfectionism that can raise its ugly head in the energy of Virgo, all of that gets to sort of be released and let go of as we strive for authenticity in our connection with not only our spirit, our soul, but our creativity, which the soul expresses here in the human physical experience. And let's just go to the last day of the month. Not a lot has changed. We do see that now we have an exact conjunction between Neptune and Venus. So this is very dreamy, very creative, very oh, how can it's fanciful, it's imaginative, it's I don't know, dreamy is the best word I can really come up with. So I'm going to come off of this now and stop sharing. The first part, oh, pardon me, the first part of the year, we are also experiencing the United States presidential inauguration. And during that time, Chiron will be conjunct the United States Chiron. So around the world, this will affect how we play out. I don't know exactly what will happen, but the Chiron is the wound that we carry. In Aries, it's in the United States' fifth house of its personal expression. So as we see this Chiron return for the United States, it is an opportunity for this country to step up and to live the ideals with which it was created upon. And that is also going to afford us more opportunities to be more authentic within our individual expression as members of a global community. So be mindful of that. I do expect there to be a bit of hairpin turns there in January. Be mindful of the media with Jupiter being retrograde in Gemini. We could see more and more information coming out about how the media has exaggerated things or has blurred the lines of its coverage of certain things. So it should be a real humdinger of a beginning of 2025. And that's it for me. So I hope you'll come back. Be sure to check your January love and money tarot card reading and check out your yearly horoscope where I go month by month and give you the highlights for 2025. And please like, please subscribe, please share, and hit that notification bell because there's going to be lots of content coming out this year. All right, everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful new year. I'll see you soon.